Hey everyone,
Hey everyone.
I'm Kaya, Thrifty Redhead on Instagram.
I'm Caitlin. Did I thrift that closet on Instagram?
And welcome to Flip That Jawn.
We are two full-time resellers from Philly, and this is a weekly podcast that explores the ins and outs of reselling while linking arms with the reselling community to help grow and learn from each other.
We're excited to connect with you and new voices that will help to inspire and motivate you in your reselling journey. Join us as we learn more about ourselves, each other, and our ever-growing awesome reselling community.
So on our first episode of Flip That Jawn, today me and Kaya are going to have an open and honest conversation talking about our reselling whys, as well as what brought us to the reselling community, what keeps us involved in the reselling community, and how it's super critical for every reseller, just like any business owner, to identify your why and remember what is keeping you in your business. We hope that our conversation today maybe will inspire you to take a look at your own why, give you some ideas to maybe expand that, and as always, we want to help you grow. We'd love to continue the conversation and hear your guys' whys and what brought you to the community over in our Instagrams. So feel free to let us know. Looking for the perfect packaging supplies or want to make sure your reselling business is branded specifically to you? Well, look no further. Today's episode of Flip That Jawn is sponsored by our lovely ladies over at Sellers Merch. Sellers Merch is a woman-run company that helps resellers grow in branding and create outstanding products that add the perfect touch to your packaging and a reselling business. Whether you're looking for the perfect poly mailer, merch that shows off your thrift boss skills, or you just want to take your brand to the next level with customized business supplies, Sellers Merch has it all.
To celebrate our first podcast episode, the ladies over at Sellers Merch wanted to give our listeners something special that helps you create packages that not only make shipping fun, but personalize your business for your customers. Use the coupon code FTJPC in all caps to get 10% off your order when checking out on their website, or comment in a bundle when ready to check out at their Poshmark closet. This is a great deal. It's available this week from January 27th to February 2nd for a one-time discount. To find out more and to check out all the amazing products that Sellers Merch has to offer, make sure you check out their website, www.sellersmerch.com, and their Instagram @sellersmerch. Again, use the code FTJPC in all caps to get 10% off your order and help create the perfect package for your customer and your business. The coupon code is good for one-time purchase, y'all, and it can't be combined with any other discount codes.
Once again, thank you so much to our awesome friends at Seller Merch for supporting our episode today, giving our listeners an awesome deal, and supplying all of us with awesome goodies that help our small business grow every day. With that being said, let's jump into today's episode. Yeah. I don't know. I would have, if you asked me at the beginning of 2020, I would have been like, yeah, I'm not doing a podcast, but now we're here. Like, I'm excited. I'm caffeinated. I put up an Instagram reel. Like,
you are the real queen.
Oh my God, dude. You know, it's like, someone like asked me, listen, for the first time ever, I felt like I went live and I was just like hanging out with people over on our Instagrams, over on Instagram. And this lady like hopped on and she was like, can you tell me how to market? And I was like, I literally started blushing because I was like,
what?
Oh,
Me?
I've gotten
Really?
to this point where like, so it's kind of cool to then take it into a podcast. But I always tell people like, this is just me being me. So like, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But like also like you just got to kind of figure out your own way. So I hope like doing a podcast together.
Right.
First of all, y'all are going to be entertained.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
And if you are here for this first podcast, you are a real ride or die and MVP. Bear with us since this is, we ain't fancy yet. You probably will hear my dog in the background, possibly.
Yes, Ladybug.
Oh, she's such a diva. She's probably like, when am I going to be on the podcast to talk about giving hex and the importance of belly rubs?
Because that's important.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's like number one priority in life is like hex and belly rubs. But yeah, like if you're here, like just bear with us. We are, it's the first one. We are just trying to get it figured out, but we will provide you with entertainment, and we hope like some good, things to jump off that help you in your business or just keep you entertained. Because I know like we've talked this before, like I listen to podcasts when I'm like listing or sourcing.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll be like in Goodwill doing the racks and like the host will say something funny and I'll just start like laughing and everyone in Goodwill just like looks at me and they're like, what is
wrong
this?
With this Let me step away.
First of all, she looks like she's powering through this rack faster than anyone I've ever known.
Definitely know a reseller when you're in the Goodwill. Like, even if you don't know this person, you know what a reseller is because you'll see them literally like powering through a rack like crazy, like just flip. And
I
you're
always
looking
find it
and like
funny.
You lock eyes and you're like, we're the same.
Like someone, I think Vendu put up a reel and it was like, thrifting, like me thrifting, and then it was like a thrifter in a wild, and it was like, gotta find a shirt, and it was like, and I showed to Marty and was like, yeah, that's me, and I was like, you're not even a reseller. It's just that vibe. I'd rather go in and find it, but like. Listen, we know I'm a little salty about that. We're not going to dive into that today from the experience yesterday, going to try to keep it professional. But thank you for dealing with my everyday nonsense like voice notes.
I'll be listening to your voice notes and I'm just laughing like...
I was like, oh, when that happened yesterday, I was like, oh, I have to send her a voice note. And like, I have to tell her, because I was literally just going up and down the shoe aisle, like being salty. So I was just like pretending to pick up. I've never looked at like a luxury brand item like so mad in my life before. I was like, I'm going to look at these Stewarts. Like... But yeah, so why don't we talk about like I know that, it's funny because we're going to be releasing this later, but we're recording this when it's still like 2020.
Yeah.
So we're still here. Hopefully we're still here in 2021.
We're at the end. We're almost done.
We're almost there.
It's like the longest year ever.
No, literally, dude, I had to thank you because yesterday all day thought it was Thursday. Like, this is 2020 in a nutshell. I was like, oh, it's Thursday, like all day. Like, even did accountability like on my Instagram story, like always thinking it's Thursday. And then I saw your like Instagram story for Friday at like 8:30 at night.
Like,
and I was like, no, I literally turned to Marty on the couch and I was like, isn't that funny? Like, my friend thinks it's like Friday. And he's like, he was like, I hate to break it to you, it is Friday. And I was like, oh, wait, we're recording this podcast tomorrow. Like,
you were like, I am not ready.
I was like, I mean, I'm ready, but like, unless, we keep it real. So it's just like, you're gonna hear those things come out of my mouth probably, or like me have a dumb moment, but I'd rather be honest with you guys.
I have dumb moments all the time. I just think
I think that's just a part of it. Yeah, right. I had like a theory in 2020. I was like, I feel like everyone lost like some percentage of brain cells at one point.
I agree.
It's my
especially
it's my
like
keeping
track of the days. Like I literally had to look at my calendar maybe 3, 4, 5 times a day just to make sure like today is the day. That's the day.
I felt like I was like that meme too, because when you were like telling me, I was like, I know that you have like something important going on for like the holidays, and I'm not gonna ruin that. But like, I was like, wait, but she told me. I was literally like that gif of like the person doing math in their head, because I was like, wait, but she told me she's going to go do that tomorrow. And then she said that's going to happen Saturday. But if today is Friday, does
You
that
were
mean she meant
totally
Sunday?
analyzing it.
Welcome to my brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for, doing a podcast with me.
Of course. This is something great. And like I said, I had a podcast before, but it was totally new and something like I was just doing in the car when I was picking up my kids and then listening, and after I was like, bro, this is not okay. And I was like,
When
well,
you told me that, I listened to it and I was like, you can clearly tell she's like waiting in the pickup line at like school,
yeah,
like
you can hear
in
like
the
all the
car.
commotion in the background, kids yelling probably, and I was like, I don't know. It was like something I wanted to try, and I tried it, and I was like, okay, I need to perfect it a little more, but I didn't have time. But now I'm like going into 2021, I'm going to have time. I'm going to, as you say, passion project my ass off.
Yeah, I know, because we're like, I feel like we're in sync too. Like every time we're texting, I'm like, yo, how about this idea? And you're like, yep. Like, y'all need to have like a reselling hype man.
I
Like,
will hype you up to the core.
listen, you were already hyping me up to try to buy like an Hermes. Like, you popped into that live. I was like, guys, I really don't know if I'm gonna do
I
this.
was like,
It's a really good
buy
deal.
it.
And then all of a sudden I see you on the live and you're like, Kayla, do it. And I was like,
cracking up. I was like, this girl is crazy. But I was like, you got it. Ball out. Like, buy it now. Don't wait.
I know. I was like, I'm scared. Like, I'm still in the group chat with everyone. Like, I'm scared. And also I see like Thrifty Redhead has entered the live and you're like, do it. And I was like,
I only popped in the live just to say that because I was in there in the beginning, but then when I started seeing the items, I was like, ooh, that's not my price range. So let me get out.
a little bougie.
I was like, ooh, I can't. And I was like, I'm not a window shopper. So if I can't buy it, I'm not going to be looking. But then when you said like, oh, I was like, oh, she's in the same live. So let me go back in and let me hype her up and maybe she'll get it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we'll have to like table that conversation like for a podcast, because I know there's a lot of people like myself that are like interested in luxury and that kind of stuff, and it is scary.
Yes, I
like,
am one.
It is
I know
frightening
about luxury, and I probably need to take a course on it.
But I was like, once like I took I'm gonna shout out my like mentor here. Like I took Jen, a British Posher's course, which was amazing, and also that was like an impulse buy because she was like, I may never open this again, and I was like,
he's like, I gotta do it now.
Take my money, because I think that's like important. You look at like people, and like that's we'll dive into that with talking about this topic today eventually when we get to it. But like, she had the Global Collective come on, and literally there was like a whole entire like part of that course where like it was like, okay, how do you like become unafraid of doing this? And then like, how do you learn? And I think people forget that like it's not something that comes overnight, like most things in reselling. Exactly. Like you kind of have to like learn from people that do it seriously, and just learn the general thing. And I think like little tidbit of that course that she said was like, just do field trips. She was like, find a luxury brand that you're interested in, like go to that store. And I'm sitting here like, I am currently in like camo Nikes, like leggings, and like some random vintage crew neck like sweater, and you're telling me to go into Gucci and like just feel the fabrics and like look at the styles. I don't know why I'm like scared.
But I don't know why.
Because
I feel like when you do go into those luxury stores, like you've been to King of Prussia Mall, right?
I used to live behind King of Prussia Mall,
so because I would have probably been dead broke. But like, you know how you go on...
I know the mall. Like, I know, like, if you tell me, like, how do I get to this store? I could, like, tell you. Like, I have a map. And yeah. Like, if you're like, how do you get to the Hot Topic? I'm like, oh, I know exactly where that is.
But, like, you know how it's, like, one side of the mall is, like, Bolo brands, like the Old Navy, the Children's Plays, Gap, like, all of that stuff. And then the other side of the mall is, like...
And then you cross the threshold,
and it's just like,
and you're like,
oh, this is for the rich and bougie, because like, look, they have like macaroons and and iced lattes, and there's the Gucci
It's like
store.
Hunger
Yes,
Games.
it's like, and then you go back and you're like, okay, this is not me. This is not where I'm supposed to be. But it's like, I'm like, can you actually go in the store without buying anything? Like, if you start looking around, would they look at you weird? Like, are you buying something? You know?
Listen, I did that when I was younger. I think I was like, so I used to live behind it. So I went in one time and it was like, I went in for like, I don't know. I was just at the mall because that's what we used to
Right.
do. If you're a younger reseller listening, it's like we used to go to the mall. That used to be a thing on like Friday nights. You would get your friends together and you wouldn't even like buy anything. You would just walk around the mall and like see who was there. It's so weird to think about that now, dude. Um, but like I think I went into like I can't even remember what it was, but I went into some like luxury high-end brand and I was like just walking around and they were like, I think an attendant was like, "What are you doing in here?" And I was like, "Okay, like you don't know I could be like a secret
Yeah,
millionaire."
they dress
Um,
rugged as I don't know what.
yeah, I'm like, "Hello, have you seen like Elon Musk like
Do you see Keanu Reeves
like
still like goes on the subway?
oh my God. Yeah,
He doesn't
right?
even
Like
drive
I'm
anywhere.
like you can't judge someone's like pockets by like what they look like. I think that's really true in reselling. Again, like we're gonna be talking about a lot of stuff like this, but like I think that's what that is holding me back
Right.
from that because it's just like now I feel like I would go in and if someone said that to me, I'd be like, well, you know what? I'm looking for this. Like, so I feel like now with reselling, and I think that's like, so today we're going to talk about kind of like the why. I think it's funny too, because like you're probably like sitting there like, Caitlin, you're so like nerdy. Because I was like, we're going to title this podcast, This Is the Way, because I just finished watching the season finale of Mandalorian
Yeah.
last night. It was like in my like deep nerd feelings. And I think like that's super important in reselling is that especially like when you just start or if you're like been doing this for like 5 years, you have to know that. But like in the Mandalorian, not to get like super nerdy, but like that's like basically his like code of honor. So like when someone's like, "Oh, why are you like what is your," and he's like, "This is the way." Like it's very simple, like this is the way. So
Simple
I feel
and
like
like
as
right to the point.
yeah, so like as a I'm like sitting here like hopefully Disney does not like
You
bring a
stole it.
lawsuit. I mean, they got that money, but I'll be like, "Oh, I give you Disney Plus money every month."
True.
Um can we do it in a payment plan? So it's like kind of like I feel like as resellers you have to have like that this is the way cuz sometimes some days there's just it's like if you are brand new to reselling or you're thinking about reselling, like let's be honest, like there are rough days and then there are really good
Yeah, like
days.
90% rough,
Like
10% good.
yeah.
Honestly speaking, like if you say you're a reseller and you have a good day every day, then I don't believe you.
Yeah. And I feel like you have to like you have to have like that kind of moment in reselling where it's like this is the way because you're going to get people that are questioning, you're going to get people that are like reselling is horrible. Resellers are the worst. I mean, we could just go into so many TikToks with that, but like but I feel like so let's I want to know cuz obviously I know what brought me to reselling and like my why, but like let's I want to hear like yours because I know a little bit of it, but I'm here to learn, like sis. So
Yes. So basically it wasn't like reselling in general that brought me where I am right now. It was more of I'm tired of working a 9 to 5 job. So like a couple years ago, like 2017, I left my job. I worked at a company where it was like workman's comp. So like I sat behind a desk and like I was like an adjuster, approving people's stuff, and I'm just like, this is not what I want to do. And I got pregnant with my son, who's my fourth kid. So yeah, I have four guys. We have a
You're like, you know
basketball
what?
team over there.
I need another job.
We have a basketball team over here. So got pregnant with my son and working up until it was like maternity leave. And when it was time to go back, I was like, I don't want to go back. Like I'm tired of working. I'm basically working just to pay other people to watch my kids. And and it was just like this is not where it's at. I was like, I want to be my own business owner. I want to do what I want to do. And I have a relative who was doing Poshmark at the time and like full time Poshmark reselling. I think she sells on eBay as well. And she was like, "Oh, you should try to sell your stuff." So I started selling just stuff out my closet, just getting a couple dollars here and there. And it was working, it was doing good, but I ran out of stuff to sell, of course. So it's like, okay, where do we go
I
from
feel
here?
that.
So I started going thrifting and I'm a big like thrifter, like having 4 kids, I'm not buying stuff brand new all the time for them. So we're passing stuff
Mm-hmm.
down, we're getting stuff from, thrift stores or from relatives and stuff like that because I'm just like buying brand new stuff for you guys to just grow out of it the next month is like not me. So I started going
Yeah.
thrifting a lot and I started to really love it. So I was looking at stuff and finding like different things and then I started getting introduced to the bins and which is a total episode within itself. So
Yeah, that's some
yeah,
crazy episode. So I'm not
to
caffeinated
deal with the
enough for a
bins.
bin episode right now.
I started doing the bins. I started doing bag sales, and then just using like Vinted and Nextdoor app to like locate people in my community to find free items as well. And I started putting it on Poshmark. The sales started coming through, and I started to really feel like inside, like I'm making a difference by not putting as many clothes in the landfill. Being sustainable and feeling like that. So I was like, this is something I definitely want to do. And then Poshmark was like dope as a platform because it was all of the Posh and sips that was going on. So I'm get there, meet a lot of the reselling community, Posh Party Lives. I attended my first Posh Fest last year. So it was like, okay, all of this is awesome. Like this is great. And I just feel like reselling just opened up a lot more business opportunities for me.
Hell yeah. I mean, I feel you on that. So many things that you said, I was like, yep, I can relate to that. Especially when it comes, I feel like a lot of people, I think it's very rare that you run into people that are like, well, I grew up and knew I wanted to be a reseller. Like, I feel
Like
like
really? Because
maybe
when I was a kid, I grew up
maybe
and I thought I was
you're,
gonna be a singer. I thought I was gonna be Beyonce.
yeah, like you have like Jimmy over here is like, I want to be an astronaut. And you have Sarah's like, I want to be a doctor. And I'm like, I want to be
Reseller.
a reseller. But like honestly, maybe that's like I know a lot of people that are parents that like get their kids involved and stuff. So that's kind of cool that in like 2020,
Right.
2021, you know, it's an alternative way to show your kids like and so, not necessarily just be a reseller, but like you could run a business, you can kind of do whatever you want to do, as long as you're putting in the effort and the care about it. You know what I mean? So that is like, I think that's kind of cool. And it's opening a new doors. Like, I can't wait until like my nephew is like
Yeah.
old enough for me to like teach him how
Yes.
to thrift. Like,
That's like the thing. Like
like I
forget
told my
walking and
brother, I'm
talking.
like,
Let's
all
learn how to
right,
thrift.
yeah, you're
Right?
crawling, whatever. You're
Right?
gonna learn about
What
bolos
1-year-old knows how to
first.
thrift?
So I definitely think like that's something that like you just brought up. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I never even thought of that before. But like definitely working the 9 to 5 because I feel like a lot of people like I said, they don't naturally just say like, oh, I want to when I grow up, I want
Right.
to be a reseller. It's mostly I feel like people that either come from a 9 to 5 or people that are looking or like for me, I know personally I can say for myself, like I've always been wired that way. I did work a
Mhm.
9 to 5 before I was reselling. I was a personal trainer and I kind of had like that 75% control of it, where like I was doing scheduling. I was basically doing all the hard work, and then at the end of the day they're like, "Oh, great, you promoted yourself. You did all the hard work. You did all the client-based stuff. Cool, we're going to take like 75% of this and give you 25." And I was
What?
like, "Wait, like I understand that like you're giving me this, but like at the same time it's like I'm doing all the hard work, so I want to benefit more." And I was doing that, and then I always tell people like I started reselling some. I just started just on Poshmark, and I started reselling like, again, just my clothing. I always tell people, go to your closet first. Like, I think Marty came home, like my partner came home one day and he was like, "Why are all your clothes all over the place?" And we lived in this one small studio, and I look back at the photos I take now and I'm like, ugh, like,
Yes.
no. Um, but like, I worked that, and I just like I fell more in love, and I think like bless the people I worked with, because they definitely saw that I was like becoming more passionate about
Right.
doing that. And that I just really loved that, and they were like, "Hey, like it's been dope, but like I feel like your efforts are completely somewhere else
That's
right
how you
now."
know like you're ready to do
Um,
something else.
yeah, and I feel like that's totally okay in life, but also like side note, like I did that, so I knew how to run, do the hard stuff of a business, and how to like promote and how to network and like how to do, sales and all that kind of stuff. Also because I have like been in multiple
Right.
MLMs, which like I always joke with people, I'm like, if you've ever done an MLM, you will be like, "Oh my God, reselling is the best thing ever because I'm actually seeing like success and making money." Like, so I had done that, and actually like when my friend Lori, her closet is Lori Core. She like I've known her for hardcore for years, and I would just see her like post about like clothing and stuff, and I always tell people like I purely came from an educational standpoint too, where like I knew nothing about
Right.
fashion. I knew nothing about style. I knew nothing about trends. Again, I was like a personal trainer that just wore like leggings every day. Clutch for 2020, really know my leggings and athletic wear, which was awesome. But like I wanted to kind of find my own way in that. I wanted to kind of find my own self. Fashion is a form of expression.
Definitely.
So I'd always joke like, "Hey," I would tell all my friends like we go to shows or we go out or whatever, and I'd be like, "Can you just teach me how to dress? Like I don't know how to do this." Like I really honestly didn't know. So going into reselling, I was like, you definitely get educated on those styles and trips. And she was like, "Oh yeah, you should totally do Poshmark. It's fantastic." And I was like, "Ooh, is this like another like MLM?" Like I had just gone out of an MLM, and I was like, "Ooh, like we just did this, sis. Like, are we
Right.
gonna do it again?" And then I sat on it for like 3 days. I really thought like, is this for me? Like, if I'm gonna do it, like I want to go ham. Um, and that's where I sat for 3 days, and the name "Did I Thrift That" came into my mind. But like, yeah, I think it's like crazy because I came from like a totally the same thing as you, like came from a 9 to 5, working for somebody else. And I just knew that entire time. Like I've had a job since I was 16, always working for somebody else. And I just like knew that like how I'm wired is like I work hard, trust me. If someone hires me to do something,
Yes,
I
that's how
work
it's
hard.
supposed to be.
But like I'm not gonna work as hard as if I'm
Right.
doing it for myself,
It
if
does.
that makes sense. So I feel like that, like, generally, like, that why is what got me started. But I totally think, like, now at almost, I'm like, how long have I even been reselling? It feels like that meme where she's like, it's been 87 years. This is like, some days it feels like
It
87
does.
years. But like I feel like that's definitely changed. Do you feel like your like why you started has maybe changed from when you started
Oh
to
yeah, for
now?
sure. I feel like when I first started, it was like, okay, I just want to like not work for somebody else. Like I just want to be my own boss. And I feel like it still definitely ties into that because I love working for myself. I love having my own schedule, not having to answer nobody, not have to ask for vacation days or sick days, stuff like that. But I definitely feel like it's changed to where I want to be something more to the world, if that makes sense. Like I want to be able to, I see a lot of people say, put your carbon footprint down. Like I want to be able to do that. I want to, growing up in the world and, for Jesus, how old am I? 31? 31 years.
Girl, I forgot again. My brain cells lost in 2020. I went a whole day thinking I was like a year
Listen.
younger, and Marty was like, "That math,
Listen,
that
after
math."
30, I'm
Nope,
like, how
no.
old am I again? But
You just say I'm
yeah, that's
30
all. Yeah,
plus.
I think
Like that's all
just
that
to
really
give myself
matters.
like not an iffy standpoint. Like, how old are you? I'm 30 plus, so
I'm like in
somewhere
the
around there.
middle. Like,
But being being on the earth for this 30 plus years, and especially with the time that we're in, with the pandemic, being quarantined, seeing this world change so fast and drastically, it's like I want to do something. Like I want to know like when I leave, I did something amazing. So if it means like
yeah, I totally.
reselling and thrifting clothes and saving items and saving the landfill, then that makes me feel great. So that's like how my why kind of turned into where it is now.
Yeah, the vegan in me is like, yes, girl.
Yes, I am
Yes.
not vegan, but I love vegan food. Side note.
Oh, well, I'll have to make you. So I make bang. All the time I make vegan food. My friend, she like gets stuff for me and
Yeah.
shops my closet, lives around the corner, and she's like, are you gonna be making
Are
that
you
vegan soup today? And I'm like, you're the one that's like a
right?
chef.
Listen, like I didn't
Like,
even
she's like,
know.
can you do my meal prep for me? I'm like,
Like
oh,
when
girl,
we
we
first when
tried
we
that.
first met, I
Like,
didn't even know you were vegan.
yeah, because I'm not like I'm not like I listen, I will get my
Yeah.
soapbox once in a while. If you really got
Right.
to push me to be on that. But I think it comes like most things in life, like it's not about like shoving an
Right.
idea
Right.
down someone's throat. It's just about like I'd rather that person come to me and be like ask a question. It's the same thing with reselling. Like I feel like your why could, like you said, like your why kind of transitions. So maybe you start being like, I want this to be my full-time job and I
Right.
want to make my own money. I want to be my own boss. But now it's like, okay, I kind of see I've been like a little bit more open about myself
And that's
through
great.
Instagram and like working on
That's
being
great.
transparent because I feel like it's so much more than just money. Like I tell people all the time, like a business, like yeah, sales are important in a business, but it does not ultimately define your business. Like how you act in a business and what
Yeah.
you stand behind is just as important. Um, and I was just talking about that with a friend yesterday. I was like, from the situation that we
Yeah.
talked about before, being salty, I was like, at least because the first thing I do is like my partner works in sales. I was like, you'll never believe this, and he was like, well, you shouldn't have done this. And I was like, but you know what? At the end of the day, if it was a different situation, I would have done the right thing. I would have been like, it's about treating other people with
Exactly.
respect. You can still grow in a business, but you can be respectful towards each other. And I feel like the reselling
Yes.
community is really like that. And so my why is kind of turned, the sustainability is a huge part of that, but also you creating a brand and a community where it's a platform or maybe like we talk about things that are like not necessarily spoken about or there's like
Right.
stigmas about because I feel like that ultimately breaks it down a little bit. So I'm like, okay, well now I have kind of like grown a little bit. I've met some people, so let's use that for like good in the world. um let's use that to support causes. Let's use that to like come out and maybe be like, hey, I know you're a reseller. That's not all the
Exactly.
layers of you. Let's talk about some things that are maybe hard to talk about. And let's learn from each other. I think that was like really great. I could not have been more proud of being part of a community with everything going on with
Yeah,
Black Lives Matter, and being part of a community where I feel like we finally have kind of a platform where people can be talked and people want to learn. There was more like seeing people wanting to learn and do better than like the, oh well, this is what it is, you know
exactly.
what I mean?
I feel like it's very important now. You know, we all have that connection of reselling, but we're all very, very different. And it amazes me how we can all come together to support something like that. And then, just be like one, like all together, just like a union. It's amazing. And I love seeing it like throughout this whole year, like all my PFFs come together. And PFFs is Posh Friends Forever, guys, if you don't already know that.
I mean, I always feel like people think like that's the
I love
corniest
it.
thing
I'm
ever, but I'm
cheesy
like,
like that.
it's really true. Like I talk to like you, I talk to, everybody like I talk to Alyssa like on the daily. So to have like to have a group of people that like I've met Alyssa, but some people in that group chat
Yeah.
like I've never met them in my life, and I'm like, these people know like literally everything
Isn't that
about
crazy? Like you
me.
just have like it's a whole ton of people on my Instagram that I've never met. But you talk to them on the daily and you feel like when you see them, it's probably not even going to be weird because it's like the person you would talk to all the time. So it's like when you see each other, it's probably going to be even crazier.
And it's like one of those things too, where like again, coming from where I've like tried multiple MLMs. Disclaimer, please do not hit me up with the hey girl messages. Like they are not gonna work for me. I will send you YouTubes of anti-MLM. But yeah, but like I feel like they always promise that, like, oh, gonna make a community and you're gonna make friends for life. And it's like being part of that, it's like, well, you do, and maybe you walk out with a few people, or like you do have a good relationship. Like I do have a good relationship with
Yeah.
some of those people still, um, but like not the same as reselling. Like when people say like the reselling community is great, it's like it literally is great. Like I literally meet someone new every day that either is like gives me information to become a better person or becomes a part of my life. So I think that is like a huge like way that my why has transitioned is like, okay, like how can I take I still don't get me wrong, like I still want to
Oh
make
yeah.
sales
We
in my
still want to make that money.
business. I still want to get that bag, but also at the end of the day too, it's like, okay, now that I have that and I have, a little bit of momentum, a little bit of experience, how can I take that and kind of foster in either like new people maybe that are listening to this podcast, or how can I take people that are struggling with things? Because being a small business owner, those things can like fully affect you. You know, I know that I've had situations where like I guess I would say like that has fueled me to not quit. I know that I've had situations, I had one major breakdown where I was just like, that's it. I'm done. I'm over it. Of
Yeah.
course I wasn't, because then immediately my next Google search was like, how do I get an LLC?
I feel like
Like I was
I
like,
feel
I want
like
to
that's
do
the
this, but I
daily
want to do it
life
for
of a
myself.
reseller. Like I put it up on my page a couple times on my Instagram, and it's like the life of a reseller, like day by day. And it's like, oh, I make a sell. This is great. And then the next day, it's like you don't make a sell. And it's like I'm gonna quit. And then the next day you make a sell, and it's like, oh yes, this is a lifetime thing. And then the next day, it's like you get like a bunch of like bad reviews, and it's like that's it, I'm quitting. And then the next day, it's like you go back. It's a roller coaster ride. Like that's what I've always heard. It's a
It
roller
really
coaster ride, and
is.
if you don't like roller coasters or like the ups and downs, then it's gonna be a struggle to get through it. But if you're willing to keep pushing, it's gonna pay off at the end. It really will.
And I think that's like definitely where that why comes in, because I know at least what I've done is like tell people some of my why. Like most of the people I talk to on a daily know why I do this. And so like when I had that
Hmm.
huge mental breakdown of like wanting to quit, but like also wanting to form an LLC. I don't know. Like, they were like, "Hey, Caitlin, maybe you should like put your phone down. Maybe you should like get in a hot bath. Maybe you should just like chill, go walk your dog or something, and then come back to this because you've told us why this is important to you. I don't want to see you
or just
fail,
give up.
or I don't want to see you give up." Because it's one thing. Because, like, truth be told, like, there's always going to be one thing. There's going to be a negative Nancy. You're going to get bad reviews, even if you're, like, the best
even if you did all
reseller
you
making
can,
tons
you're
of
going to get a
sales.
2-star with a response that says other. Okay?
Oh, my God.
And you're going to sit there, and look at your phone for, like, 10 minutes figuring out, what the hell is the other? Like, why can't you be specific? I did everything right, and you're gonna like be hard on yourself, and then you're gonna look at your other reviews, and you're gonna see all your 5 stars, and you're gonna see your 5 rating, and you're gonna be like, hey, it's just one bad buyer. Like, who cares? Move on.
Yeah, I know, especially with mine, it was like, I think I had multiple cases, and it was like, I feel like, well, reselling is always changing too, right? So it's like, especially this year, I feel like not only did you get the people that are like buying because there are other resellers and maybe need inventory because they couldn't source, but you're also getting like the regular Karen off the street.
That's the problem with
who
everything.
like wants. Yeah. And so it's like, I never even took that into account. So I was getting like BS cases. Like, I think there was one day I had like a case, like completely transparent. I had like a case for like 3 days straight on something, and I was like, "What is going on?" I was like, "But you know what? Then you have to remind yourself, like, why?" Now it's like I get a case, I'm like, "Cool, return it," because I'm probably gonna relist it and it will sell back to somebody. Like that's a whole other topic. Like we can we'll probably definitely be talking about like how do you remain professional, but it's like, you know, in those moments, or like, even if it's, I feel like you just get something, you're like, why did I buy this? Or like, should I even try to buy this? And it's like, you know, what's really stuck with me too is like Rhonda. We're going to shout her out real quick. Brunch Diva. The Pink Diva. I know she'd be over there cracking up in my reels. But she, yeah, if you guys definitely have not followed her, you should definitely go follow her. She's an amazing resource. But I know you hosted a Posh and Coffee, and she like said that, like, what really stuck with me is like, it's not about that fear of failure, it's that fear of other people seeing you fail.
And as humans, that's what we do.
And I was like,
you
wow.
know, it's I feel like it's not something that's intentional that people do. Is natural, and sometimes you can't control it, but it's like it's a feeling that everybody has. We all feel like, what does other people think? You know, and especially, you know, when you see a bunch of, you know, people having sales on Instagram, and you're like, why don't I have sales? Why don't I have a stack like that? And it's like, I think about like Leslie, also a reseller's passion. I think about
we love Leslie.
Just like everything that she's always said about, you know, you never know what struggles they have behind the scene. Like, yeah, you see their stack right now, but what did it take for them to get to that? And we don't know what each person is struggling with. We don't know if those boxes is filled. Like, we don't know.
Someone said that in a reel yesterday, was like, you know, that like background thing is like, they'll never know. They'll never know. And it was like, somebody said like, oh, why don't you just answer your own questions in an Instagram story? And I was like, wow, wait, I never even thought of that. Like, because sometimes I'm like, people get all these responses, like, am I doing something wrong? And I'm like, they could be sitting here filling out their own damn question. Like,
they'll never know.
And
they'll
never know. They're never gonna know.
Like, that podcast be cracking up every day.
Yeah, definitely, like, Leslie is another person to follow. Like, I think, like, what that Posh and Coffee, just, if you guys have not done like any sort of Posh and Sip, Posh and Coffee, like, you should definitely take advantage of that, because if you are a Poshmarker, that is a great resource to just not only like learn some new stuff and educate, but also just to like sometimes fill your cup. Because like, especially in that same phone call, like in that same session, like exactly what you're saying. Like Leslie was like, you're coming in
Yep.
the middle of the story. And I was like, yo, should we all just like write a book right now? Because we're dropping some knowledge. Like, at like 10 in the morning, like that's some powerful stuff to think about, because you never really do think about it. You always think about, like, I think it's important to shift your focus again to like your why, not necessarily why is this person doing it. That's great. If you want to learn about other people's whys, that's fantastic. I highly encourage it. Like, of course, you're here listening to this podcast. So, but at the end of the day, that person's why doesn't make yours.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does.
Does that make sense?
And we all have our different whys. Your why is different from mine. We connect from reselling, but we have different things going on in our life that made our why like where it is today.
Yeah, and you can definitely have different whys, but still be each other's
because I always want to see people win. Like, I don't care if I never met you. I don't care what you're doing. Like, I just want to see people win and be successful. Like, that makes me happy. Like, genuinely makes me happy when people get to go after their dreams and do their accomplishments. Like, I want to be your hype man. Like, for real.
So have you ever had like situations yourself that maybe have like challenged you in your why, or like maybe you're like, how much time you got on this podcast?
My main challenge is
2 hours
the 4 people
later
that are upstairs right now running like crazy monkeys. Like, I can hear them right now recording like all this pitter patter. Like, I can just hear it. But it's like mom's on a podcast.
Like, oh, mom's on a podcast. Yo, cause chaos.
But they are like the biggest challenges. They're definitely my blessings and my also my why. But it's a challenge, being a mom and trying to run a business or businesses. But I feel like it's also a great thing to have the support system I have. So I have my mom, who's like a huge supporter, and my husband, who's a huge supporter as well. So they know like why I want to do it. They love what I do and how I'm doing it. And they're like, we want to see you succeed. So like, whatever you need help with, we're definitely going to be there for you. And my friends as well, they hype me up. They repost like, hey, I'm having a sale. Can y'all repost to y'all social media? And they're like, yeah, for sure. So like they definitely hype me up and do all of that. But challenges, I feel like every day I face them. I make a schedule, I have a to-do list. By the end of the day, listen, by the end of the day, have I done everything? Have I even got to one thing? I may not. I may have not gotten to one thing because something is always popping up, and it's unfortunate things that happen during the day, or it's just like a kid gets sick. Okay, that like shuts my day down. If something happens in the house, that shuts my day down. So it's just like every day it's always something. It's like very rare, very, very rare where it's like, oh, the day went according to plan. When that happens at the end of the day, I'm like patting myself on the back. Like, oh wow, like today was like ice cream. Today was a good day. So
yeah, you're like, hold on 1 second, Spotify, play Ice Cube.
But yeah, like challenges.
No, I totally feel you on that.
What's gonna happen is just, are you the person that's gonna like straight like collapse and give up when like stuff doesn't go your way, or are you going to continue to push through and then wake up the next day being ready and willing to keep going forward and like, okay, I didn't get to this yesterday. Today's a new day. Let's start off with positive vibes and definitely a cup of coffee. And we coffee queens over here, ain't we, Caitlin? I think Caitlin is more of a coffee queen than me. Every time you text me, you're like, I'm getting a cup of coffee. You know what?
If you ever see me without a cup of coffee, you should be like, are you okay? Like, I mean, right? I was a barista for like 5 years, like so I was a
for me. I want to be, because I just want to talk the Starbucks lingo.
I don't want I still know like what the codes for like a banana are like in the cafe. Like I was at Barnes and Noble. It's like every time I'm at the I did that, and I also worked at a grocery store. So I play this fun game with sometimes when I go to the grocery store, and I'm like, that's 4011. Like I tell the cashier like what the
Like,
SKU
what
code
aisle
is
is the peppers in?
because I'm like,
Oh, it's in aisle one. Like, you just know. Like, that's crazy.
yep. So I grew up as a barista, and I think like having those weird like odds and ends jobs, also just like how you grew up. Like I said before, like my mom, like I grew up around my mom. My mom will
My
talk
mom
to
as well.
everybody
The
about
friendliest person in the
anything.
world. And I'm like, how?
Like I tell her, and I could sense that in myself too, and I think that's like also makes me like a little bit like more confident in my business. Like I just talked to a man who was clearly like had like a shopping cart, clearly like struggling a little bit in life, but I was just like, isn't it great this snow? Like meanwhile, I'm walking out of the thrift with like 3 bags of clothing, and we just like had a genuinely nice like conversation between two people. And like if you ask me, like I always communicate, but being like barista, being any of those sort of jobs I've had before reselling has also taught me like how to communicate with people, how to just make small talk, like how to have customer service. So I do I do hype them up for like building in a good business strategy idea. But yeah, you'll definitely never see me without it. Dude, it was rough. Holidays
Can't
as a
imagine.
barista. Oh my God. I actually, funny story side, this is gonna be a total side tangent, but I was a barista for Barnes and Nobles. My brother was a barista for Barnes and Nobles for like 5 years when he
Yeah.
graduated and went to college. It was like a family thing. I don't know why. But and I worked at the one like down the street from King of Prussia Mall. And like I actually worked the opening
The
release
first
night
one?
of Harry Potter. And
Okay.
I wanted, no, the second one, because my brother worked the first one. I wanted to die, dude.
Oh, man.
It was like, you will never learn to hate frappuccinos or anything that is like a coffee drink until you're in that. It's almost like when people are like, you gotta work like a retailer or like a food service job, like to know like
Right.
how that really feels and how to treat somebody in that. I was like, I think I worked like a shift from meanwhile I was like 17 too, and I was like, not, I've never been on
Nice.
this Harry Potter train. I respect it as a
Yeah.
fandom, but it is not in my nerd fandom. So I was just like, oh my God, when
It
is this
never
gonna
did.
end? I've made like 5,000 frappuccinos
Oh,
of
God.
just loaded sugar for 15
Oh,
year
my
olds at like
God.
11:30 at night. And people were like knocking on the door, like, oh my God, Harry Potter. And I'm like bleeding,
My
making Rice
hand.
Krispie treats. Like, I'm like, so many scones. So many scones. I will be toil give. I
Oh,
never see a
God.
scone ever again in my life. But you know, so you live and you learn on those. But besides that tangent, I think like you brought up a really good point. I feel like a really good strategy when you're struggling with that why is to, make that why known to yourself, but
Yeah.
also like tell people that are important in your life. Like tell your partner, tell your mom or your family. Because there's been plenty of times where there's been a challenge, and like you said, like I'm that person that calls their mom every day. Like that's like in my business agenda. And like some days when it's a tough day, she'll be like, "Well, remember this is why you're doing it, and this is what comes to the territory." So when I feel like when you have those people to kind of like I almost said reinstall, like yeah, hardwire. I mean, in your hardwire, sometimes you just forget, but like to reignite that and to remind you like why you do it. Even Marty like will do that. He'll be like, "Well, remember why you did this?" When I had my mental breakdown, he was like, "Why did you start doing this?"
Exactly.
So, and I think it's yeah, you have to keep thinking of that. Especially I was doing this full time and having I was doing full time posh reselling and full time 9 to 5 before I quit my 9 to 5 job. And in the midst of the pandemic, because I think we got a lot of new people in reselling that also came to this because it's maybe the safer option, or they were let go because of the pandemic. it's an option, which is very rough and very real for a lot of people right now. So, having that where Marty was like, do you want to go back into an environment that's maybe not the best thing to go to during a pandemic and make X amount? I think if you sit down, and that's a whole, again, we have so many fun topics coming your way that obviously you guys can tell we love to talk about it. But like, we sat down and was like, okay, let's examine the numbers. Like, is this the best option to do? Would you rather do like reselling full time and like be safer? You know what I mean? And make the money that you would without having to put yourself at risk. So I think that's interesting. But yeah, definitely you got to have people to remind you, and you got to find that one person that you like, I think going back to what Leslie said, like a lot of people are like angry sometimes when you say stuff, but it's because they need to hear it.
I agree.
Yeah. So, so it's like, find that person that holds you accountable and holds you onto your shit.
I don't want it, like I always said,
you know
I don't
what I mean?
Yes
Someone
man.
that's not gonna
like if I give you something, like don't just say yes. Like actually give me like something useful. Let me know if this is a good idea. Like don't let me tank.
Like most of the time when I get people, because I've had a few people that are like, oh, I'm new to this, can you like mentor me on this? And I'm like, I can help you. Tell me why you want to do this. And when they come back, it's almost like it's almost like being a sponsor. When you're a sponsor to someone in the program, like full disclosure, I'm in the program and I've sponsored people, I hold them up to their shit. Like, you didn't call me today. Why? And I'm not going to take any excuse. You need to know that you need to check in because, I don't want to be worried about you and I don't want you worried about me. So it's almost like if you could find a sponsor.
Relatable.
I don't want to like make anyone mad, but like seriously, like if you can find a reseller sponsor and maybe that's somebody that has a little bit more experience than you or someone that you like follow that you really like, if you just hit them up in a DM, most of the time people are like, yeah, dope, that'd be cool, I want a mentor. But like, I also know when you do that, tell them your why, but they're going to hold you on to that. They're going to keep you accountable.
Accountability is definitely important in reselling because there are days where you don't want to do anything and you can't expect like sales or stuff to happen if you don't do the work. So I feel like having an accountability partner is definitely like an essential when like starting reselling. Or even now, like even if you're an experienced reseller, you can fall back and be like, oh, I'm not doing no listing. And then like a week or two later, you're like, why am I not getting these sales?
Everyone deals with it. Will be like, why am I not doing this? Like, because it takes the work and you got to find someone that holds you onto your
conversations with, and it's like, oh, what are you doing today? And it's like, oh, nothing. Like, oh, you should try to get some listings in. Like I've had FaceTime calls with people in my accountability group. We be on FaceTime and we're like having our own little listing party. I'm listening, she's listening, we're listening to music, we're talking, and it's great. And then, after you do all of that, you're like, oh snap, I got like 10 listings done. And you just had fun like the whole time.
Yeah. And I feel like it's important to say too, like Instagram's really dope, but you got to make that connection with somebody that, again, it's like when you get a sponsor in the program, the first thing they tell you is like, you want to get a sponsor that's someone that has what you want, whether that's your the clean time, or they've started a family, they have a reliable job. So I feel like I've kind of taken that into the reselling where it's like, I follow people, but I connect with people that maybe have the things and the experience or like, have gotten the extra things like a family or like, the things that I want. And I'm just honest with them. Like, this is why I'm doing it. I want those things. Can you hold me accountable? Can you like,
for sure,
keep me from the bullshit? And just like because it's easy to be like, oh, well, I follow this person and they motivate me. Like, that's great. That's a post. But like, there's something different when you have somebody that comes to you and is like, listen, this ain't working. You gotta keep going, and you gotta keep like going hard. Because I feel like that will really help you also grow in your why, because then you turn around and you're like, oh, I want to mentor people. I've had people mentor me, and so when people ask me like, how do I do this, or how do I like, can you mentor me, or I'm thinking about reselling, I'm always like, yeah, dope, let's go. But like, I'm gonna keep it 100% real with you.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna let you make excuses, because that's just not gonna work for either of us. I don't want to spend my time on someone that's not willing to come to the table. You know what I mean? So, oh man, so much.
And
I
you
feel
just
like
lead into
we
everything
started
else.
with
But I
one
feel like that's
topic and
normal and
now
that's
it's like,
great for, what we're doing, because people may be listening that like have no intention of being a reseller, maybe. They just need, some accountability. Wouldn't that be great?
yeah, I think it's definitely like, yeah, you can take that and apply it. Just like I've said, I've done that with like making a schedule and how to set goals. It's like you can take the stuff you learn from reselling, you can apply that to your everyday life. Whether it's like, oh, I even like doing an inventory system, it's like, now that I have an inventory system, I feel like I've taken that organization into other parts of my life. Or like sourcing, I know I have a budget, so now it's like I have a better idea how to budget. So I think it's important to like look at those things in the grander scheme. Yes, like how they apply in your reselling business, but how can you also take what you've learned again from the community and all that and apply it to different portions of your
Yes.
life? And it's only going to get better. So definitely find yourself
Yes.
a
I think
reseller sponsor.
that's great. I
If
think
you need a
that's a great
reseller
name for it, like a
sponsor.
reseller sponsor or mentor, whatever, however you want to associate it. But
Yes, and
yeah.
mentors, I just say sponsor because I'm just like, hi. That's how it relates to my life. But I know definitely for sure, like my DM box. But if you come to my DM box asking for a reseller sponsor, no, like you gotta come to the table. You gotta keep it real. Like this is gonna be a no BS zone. We're gonna shoot it straight, like, because I want to see you succeed, but I also want to see you like grow as a human being, because that's definitely happened to me too. But yeah, I feel like now that we've talked for an hour on that, I hope you guys have like enjoyed this, especially as the first one. I hope that you guys have like grown a little bit from the conversation, or we gave you a laugh. If anything, hopefully we made you laugh through this first podcast, and I can't wait for more, dude. Like I can't wait to
Yes,
help
I
and to
really can't.
learn
This
more
this
from
this
each
episode was
other.
great, and I feel like it was a great beginning episode talking about our whys. Why we do what we do, and hopefully it can open up people that's listening to like really think about, okay, why am I doing it? What is your why? Talk about your why. You can reach out to me, Instagram, Facebook, Thrifty Redhead. Like I love getting DMs from people. I really do.
Oh,
Like I
she'd be
love getting
all
the
about it.
comments. I love
She'd be all about
interacting.
it.
So I can be your sponsor.
So before we wrap it up today, again, just want to say thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. And we, like we said, we love to continue these conversations with you guys and on Instagram individually. But before we go, Kaya, I'm
Ooh.
gonna like give you kind of a challenge question here.
No.
Yeah, you didn't expect that one from me. So I want to know what, and this is going to be specifically if you're listening to this, whether you're new or you're like a pro, what is your biggest advice for someone to figure out their why? Like, what would you say is like the biggest tool or
I
step you
would
can do to figure
say,
out that
and
why?
just from personal experience, how I had to figure out my why was just self-reflect. So what I did was, because I'm like an organizer person, like I had to create lists in graphs and like stuff on paper for me to actually like, okay, this is it. So I literally made like a web Like back in school, used to make like the spider webs, like to
Yo,
like when it was time to like
I
write an
love
essay or
it.
something.
True fact, I've never known this about Kaya.
Like
And I'm like,
it's
should I
essential
make
for
a
me, and
web?
that was something I took from high school. Like side note, that was something I took from high school and use it throughout my whole life. Like making a web and then put your goal or center like
Mm-hmm.
topic in the middle, and then do everything else like creating the spider legs and stuff. Anyway, that's like what I had to do. So I had to put like reselling in the middle. And what I did was I self-reflected and I'm like, okay, why do I want to do this? And one of the one of the spider legs was kids, one of the spider legs was time, and one of them was like family, and the other one was like business owner, and the other one was like making my own money, and the other one was like working for myself. So it was like a whole ton of whys I wanted to do it. So I had to like reflect, and I had to do this like quietly and really like sit and think like I was actually doing a homework assignment. So I had to get like my personal space and like actually think about it. Because if I couldn't come up with valid reasons of why this is something that I wanted to do, um, then to me it didn't make any sense. And another spider leg was passion. Like this is a passion of mine. I can't do something just because like, oh, it's making me money. Like I have to want to do it. Like I love to go thrifting. I don't love listening, but I love taking pictures of my items. Like I have to throw that in there. I love what I do, y'all, but I don't love listing. But I love like having my own
Same.
office and my own space and reaching out to other resellers. This is stuff that I love, and it becomes a passion of mine. And I feel like when I don't have that feeling of like, oh, I love doing this, then to me it's like I'm not going to fall through. It's not going to get anywhere. So I feel like that's, if you guys want to make like a little spider web, you go right ahead and you do that, because that's, I mean, it helped me. So if it can help you, that would be awesome.
Listen, I'm gonna have to make a spider web today, and I'm gonna tag you on. If you do make a
Yes,
spider web,
tag me
make
so
sure
I
you
can see
tag
it
Kaya
and I
over on
can repost.
Instagram. Show us your. I love it. I like never even. You know what? That's why you have these
Yes, I
conversations,
love
because I
like
would have
having
never thought to
everything
make a
written down.
spider
Like you,
web.
you know, I love
You
like
know?
written down, because look, my passion coffee was vision
Oh,
board theme.
you know.
I made a vision board. Like, yeah, I think I was.
I love how I think you were the only one that made a vision board out
Yeah,
of that pot. I think I cleaned my Pinterest out.
I was like,
Like
do
I
it.
was
Like
like, I don't make
Canva,
one
Pinterest,
Pinterest, and I
however
was
you
like,
make it. I'm arts and
mm.
crafty, so I was like pulling out the glitter and the glue.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the spider web is that's like a great idea. I didn't even think of
Yeah,
that because I think it's so easy to get lost in your brain with whys. So I would say, make a spider web, but also know like that your why is going
for
to
sure.
change, and your what's going to change all the time. So don't let that, if you're like new to reselling, don't let that stop you from starting. Like there has to be a starting point somewhere, and maybe you start with a very small why.
Yeah. Yes, smart goals.
That's like
Yes.
a smart goal. Yeah. We'll talk about that goal. Taking a smart goal, something that's like measurable, attainable, reliable, timely, and then you build from that. But I know a lot of people that I've talked to that are like, oh, I want to do this because of this. But then I'm like, so when are you going to do it? And they're like,
Can't
oh,
wait.
well, I'll
Like
do it when I'm like,
you gotta like just
have
start.
you,
Like if
like,
you don't just
you
start,
can't wait.
you're
Like,
never like gonna do it.
because
Yeah.
they're like, you got to start with some method to the madness, but you gotta start, or else you're just going to be sitting there and being
Mm-hmm.
like, well, until I figure this out, then I'll do it. Like, and I think back onto my, like, how I started. I'm like, I was like a hot mess when I started. Hot mess when it came to pictures. Like, I think the first time I went sourcing, like, I had this idea. I was like, I can pick up anything because everyone's gonna buy it.
You
And I think
sound like
I
me.
like, true fact, I went with like a client, like, after a session, and I was like, here's $100 of stuff. And now I'm like, oh my God, like, that stuff just sat. It was like, so, like, I think there's that idea. So, like, coming at it with one specific thing, but you got to start somewhere. Don't let that fear of like, well, maybe I don't have the exact why like nailed down prevent you. Because someone brought that up in live. They're like, oh, when I opened my shop, and I was like, so when are you gonna open? Like, when are you gonna do it? Because if you're gonna sit here and just sit, like 100% real, if you're gonna sit here and talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk. And you're gonna learn there's gonna be bad things. Like, there's gonna be bad buys, there's gonna be like cases, there's gonna be 2-star reviews with other, but you gotta start somewhere to at least have an experience to learn from.
I definitely agree with that.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with Kiaya and myself today and exploring our whys. We hope that talking about our whys has inspired you to give some thought to your own why, or maybe inspired a conversation to have with yourself or others in your community about your why and how it can evolve and grow. Or maybe give you some strategies and tools to help you develop that why. Join us next week as we discuss our topic of authentication and being yourself in reselling, why that's super important. And we are really excited for that to spark some interesting discussions as we talk about it together. As always, we would love to hear how this episode has inspired you, how it has created some amazing progress in your business and in your reselling journey. So feel free to reach out to us in our socials down below. And of course, if you guys would be awesome, give us a rate, a review, and subscribe so that we can give you a shout out in our following episodes. And we look forward to having you here. Thank you guys once again, and we will see you next time.